let's get this started. So this is going to be on making a radio station available on your Pip-Boy, and we're going to be using the GECK for this. I highly recommend, and I'm going to be using, for one, go check out the GECK wiki. I'll put a link in the description. For sure, get the, is it here? Maybe not, whoops. This homepage? Let's see, here. Oh, over here. If you go to their homepage, Garden of Eden Creation, get the extender. Super worth. Alright, so let's get started. I run the GECK as an administrator to get started. And this pops up by default for me. It won't for you if you're using a different version of the GECK. So what you do is you open your data folder here, and you're going to select the Fallout New Vegas ESM. And then these are the ESPs that I already made. I already made some radio stations here. So we're not going to use those. We're just going to start from scratch. Okay. Alright, so once it's all loaded, we're going to go to File, Save. We're going to save our ESP. So name it whatever you want. I'm going to call it Radio Tutorial. Save it. And boom, once you open your file, you're going to see here that Radio Tutorial ESP is an active file, which is what we want. Alright, so now that we have the GECK extender and we have our radio tutorial saved already, we're going to start off with, what should we start off with? I think we should start off with making the files for our audio. You're going to go to Sound, and this is where all the audio files are saved. We're going to make one in here because you can't just drag and drop MP3s or whatever in. You had to look and see. You choose it from your file directory, and then you have to add all these settings to them. So, for making the audio files, I have here some that I recorded for the purpose of this video. This is track 1. That are first radio hello. Super simple, and I'm going to assume you're trying to do this with MP3s. The way we need to get this done with the GECK is we need to have the MP3 file, and then we need a mono stereo file. So, first step, I highly recommend you get Audacity. Let's do this with our number 1 radio hello. Open with Audacity. And first step, make sure this file is coded in the format 16-bit. It's got to be in 16-bit. First radio hello. We can hear it there. And once it's coded in 16-bit, if you want, what I've done for my other radios is add the kind of static effect, because if the audio sounds too clear, it's a little weird to hear out of the through the game. So what you can do is, 1, go to EQ and filters, go to your filter curve EQ. My bad. First, select your track, effect, filter curve and EQ, go to your presets, factory, and I applied the telephone preset. I applied telephone, and then if your MP3 is louder, so I'll pull up an actual MP3 file that I have. I'll pull up this one, just random. You can see really damn loud, so your music will probably look like this, which is why I recommend you would select all. Let's we'll apply the same filter that we did before. You see it tames it just a bit, and then effect, volume, limiter, and I do 10 decibels because it's pretty damn loud, and you'll see why. So that's what your audio file would end up looking like. Don't save this one. But this one already looks pretty damn skinny, so I won't. But again, you can go to your volume and do limiter or loudness normalization to both, however you want to do it. But that's what we got here. So we're going to save or export the audio as the MP3 file, stereo. This is going to be our sample rate, and again, we're at 16-bit. We're going to export it, replace the file. Then we're going to export again as a WAV file in mono. And the name of the file, whatever the name you had for the song, _ mono.wav. Export it. And we're going to make sure it's in the same directory as our other songs. And we're going to apply this to all of these tracks. If you're tech savvy, what we can do is open up a macro, and I already have one set up. Whoops, tools, macro manager, and what I have here is loudness normalization, filter EQ, export it as the MP3, do it again, export or make it mono, export the mono file. So I'm going to apply this macro to files, and I'm going to grab, I have it on my desktop, FNV radio. I'm going to grab all of these, select them all, open, applies the macros, and I already messed up because I need to choose the directory I want. Macro output, let's set the directory to FNV radio or wherever you're saving it. Okay. Choose. Macro files, and again, these are our files. Open. Cool, ran it. So now we can look at our macro output, and we have all of the tracks, and we have the WAV files. So we can sort by type, MP3s, and we'll select all of our MP3s and move them over to the original file, replace the files, and then for our waves, for our WAV files, we have to do the mono name. So give me a sec. Then we select them all, throw them in, and boom. We have all of our tracks, radio hellos, and we have the mono files associated with them. So what we did with that filter EQ is, if you listen to the audio now,
first radio hello,
it sounds more like it should coming out of the radio. So we're going to open, I'll open it from here. We want our, wherever New Vegas is saved for you. For me, it's going to be on Steam. You're going to go to your data folder. You're going to go to sound, songs, and you're going to see, for if you haven't done this, you're only going to see Radio NV, just New Vegas Radio. This is where you want to save your files for the radio you want to make. So, just make this easy. Drag and drop it from the desktop. Boom, that's copied. I recommend just naming it with the same way the rest of them are, and we'll name this radio tutorial. Boom. So now our audio files are set up to import to the GECK. We're going to open up our GECK and we're going to go to here under audio. We're going to go to sound and go ahead and filter. Press or type AA and then I'm going to do radio probably. We're going to add a new sound and let's add our sound file. We're going to go wherever the sounds are located and radio tutorial. We're going to import track 1. All right. In the ID for the song, I recommend adding AA into your ID so that when we're selecting these files, they're at the top of the list. Super easy. So I'm going to do AA, rad, radio, tut, tutorial. I'll do an underscore. Actually, it doesn't save the underscores. Rad tutorial. Call this one hello 1. And here's some settings we have. Our static attenuation is our decibel or gain reduction. And these files are pretty damn loud. I'm going to set this one at 30 because I think that should be about right. Random frequency shift is when the playback of the audio file will be slightly detuned. All right. I kind of like the way it works. If you do a 10%, it could play 10% higher or lower frequency. You have to do 2D. These are stereo files. And mark it as a dialogue sound. So it should look something like this. We're going to save it. And just so it's not super tedious, we're going to select our next song, Hello 2, rename it to, and it keeps the settings, and then when you hit OK, it's going to be like, hey, you changed all this. Yes, create a new form. And it just makes it easier. We're going to do it again. We have all of our audio files set up. Next, we're going to go to, under Actor Data, Voice Type. And we're going to create a new voice. And the voice ID, I normally use Courier, if I could spell, Courier Radio, but you can name it whatever you want. Gender doesn't matter. Okay. And now we created a voice for us to use. Next, we're going to go to Talking Activators. Go ahead and click Terminal and find something that's already a radio. So over here, Radio Enclave, Black Mountain, all this good stuff. And I like to use V Country Radio. This is Mojave Music. And look at how it's set up. We have a radio ID in the name. This is going to be the name that shows up on your Pip-Boy. So our ID, I'm going to go ahead and use Radio Tut. And I'm going to call this one Act. It's our activator. In the name, I'll call it Tutorial Radio. All right. It's a radio station. We want continuous broadcast. We're good with this model of terminal. All right. Script, we don't have one yet, but on our voice type, we're going to go ahead and navigate to the Courier radio voice that we made. And click OK. And you change the form ID, make sure you click yes. Boom. Now we have that radio set up. Next, we have to put the radio somewhere in the world. So we can go to Wasteland, New Vegas, and figure out where you want to put it. You can put it in Good Springs, wherever you want. Let's go ahead and throw it in Good Springs somewhere. And we're going to double click Good Springs. and boom, we're loaded in. The GECK extender makes this render window a little bit better, in my opinion. Alright, so I want to put it outside the saloon. Keep in mind this shows up in the world when you play it. So you could simply, if you don't care to see it, bring in a radio tutorial. We have it here. Drag and drop it, and we can see it. It's just a terminal. So we could just double click it, Z value, just start lowering it, and boom, we'll just have it underground. We're going to double click it, our reference, go ahead and do like radio. Again, this one's going to be tutorial, and then I just for the terminal. And we're not going to worry about anything here. Or scale, by the way, is if you want to make it bigger, smaller. And radio data is where it's important. You can set the radius of how close you need to be to hear the radio, or just set it to everywhere. Alright, now that's set up. Go ahead and save. Just keep saving. Hell, save after you do the songs, save after the voice, save now. Now we're ready to add the radio. Under actor data, we're going to go to Quest. And again, under the filters, type out radio. And we're going to add the radio. New. Alright, Quest name. Can be anything, but just for organizing, start it with radio, tutorial, Q, Quest, ID, tutorial, ID, radio, tut, priority, 55, start game enabled, and save it. Now we see it here. We have the name for it and we have the ID. Let's go ahead and go to gameplay. This is where we start figuring out what kind of radio we want to have set up. We can do a big playlist that just shuffles, or we can do something like Radio New Vegas that has an intro and it sends it off to the music, it sends it off to the news. You can start choosing how to do that. Right now, I'm just going to make a radio that shuffles. We're going to add a new script, and we're going to do SCN, script name. We're going to do the ID for the radio. So radio, tut, and then script. All right. We're going to make some variables for it. An integer called last track 1. Integer last track 2. And integer last track 3. And let's go ahead and put some little letters in front of it. N last track. You can use I, X, whatever. Save. Save. I messed up. This is a quest script. Make sure you put quest. Save. Alright. Exit. Open radio tutorial for script. Hit the drop down. Press R. And we find radio tutorial script. If we look at it, we have the script name and our variables here. Perfect. And for quest conditions, new, get is ID for function parameters. We're going to click the name of our talking activator, which was radio tutorial. And we see it here, radio tutorial activator. Okay. Comparison is and 1. This just tells it that it is on. All right. Boom. Okay. Let's go ahead and save while we're here. Now, let's get into the radio. First off, you're going to see something like this. Go ahead and right click, add topic, and we're going to add radio hello. All right. And for here, let's just actually not yet. Okay. So we added a radio hello topic, and when we come here, we see that it's here, but we don't see it anywhere else. From here, drag this, and you're going to see here the radio hello. Now, this is where we're going to add our music. So because we're just making a shuffle playlist, it's going to be real easy. New, and then we're going to choose our audio file. And see when we select, when we put A in front of our radio files, we see them here quickly. So let's do track 1 and name it space open brace. This is the way audio files need to be named. And we're going to call it track 1. And close brace. You're going to press OK. And it's going to say it's not in the dictionary. Just say OK. All right. Whoops. And that's why I recommend choosing the audio file first, because if we do track 2 and then choose a soundboard, it gives us the warning. And then choose it. Okay. Where if we just choose our track and do the name, we could just spam enter and we're done. Okay, we have them all here in our infos, and this formatting is taken from Mojave Radio. If we come over here and look at their radio, when we open Radio Hello, you see that they have all of their songs here. The formatting for their name is a space, and then our brackets, song name, close the bracket. So that's what we're doing. We see here that for everything that's in here, we have run immediately and random selected. We have some conditions, and we have some result scripts. Let's go ahead and get that done. So we have our radio hello here. We're going to do track 1. Let's go ahead and select run immediate and random. This is going to be the same for every track. Now we're going to get into our conditions. Right click, new, and we're going to choose get quest variable. These are the variables we declared in our script and function parameters. Whoops, that's achievement quest. Our quest name was radio tutorial. This is the ID and the variable name of last track 1. Okay. And we're going to let it stay as exclamation point equals, because that will mean that radio tutorial last track 1 was not the value of 1. Okay. We're going to duplicate it and instead do last track 2 and last track 3. All right, these are all of our conditions, and basically what they mean is that before it plays this file, it's going to say, make sure that the last song that was played was not this song. And it's going to do that for the last 3 songs. All right, now this is where our script is going to come in handy. For the song, go ahead and go to result script begin over here and type set n and then the variable name, or actually, my apologize, set the ID of our quest, which is radio tut dot, and then the name of the variable n last track 3 to radio tutorial dot n last track 2. Let's go ahead and just select all this, copy it, and paste it, or take that back. Oh man. All right. Copy it, and then new line, paste it, and set this to last track 2, last track 1, and then for the last one, type 1 and last track 1. So what this does is it sets the value of the variable last track 3 to the value that was in last track 2, and it does that again. The value that was in last track 2 gets replaced with the value in last track 1, and lastly we update the value of last track 1 to the value of this song. Perfect. Can press OK. Go ahead and save. And boom, we have this song set up pretty well. What we're going to do is go ahead and copy all these conditions. And we're going to copy them over to the next song, except it's going to be the value 2. This is our second song. And let's do that for each of these. Now all their conditions are set to where it will not play that song if it was one of the last 3 songs. Let's go back here and copy our result scripts. Copy it and paste it. What's cool is that the top 2 lines can stay the same, except now we're going to set the value that it tells last track was to the value of the song. So here it's going to be 2. All right, we have our whole radio set up to where these will shuffle. Let's go ahead and save it. Got to close all these boxes. Save it. And let's load up Fallout New Vegas. I have a mod organizer, and I'm pretty sure you do too. But go ahead and go to your plugins and make sure this ESP is selected. And run the game. Alright, we are in the game. And we can go ahead and open our Pip-Boy radio. And we're going to see our radio here.
Track 5. This is track 1. Track 2. Track 2. Track 6. Track 4. Track 3. Track 5. This is track 1. Track 4.
And we hear that it is actually shuffling the tracks for us, which is pretty cool. Right after it plays the track, it goes ahead and plays another one.
Track 4.
Alright, now we're going to cover how to make a radio that will go through a certain amount of songs and then do the little intro bumpers between the songs. So we're going to go to Quest, find our radio, and in the script we want to add a counter. This is going to track how many songs were played, and a last intro to know which intro was played last. Everything else is the same. We're going to make sure that allow repeated conversation topics is toggled on. If we go to our radio and our radio hello, we have run immediately random, link to playlist 1, This is conditional on whether the last intro was not 1. We're going to set the counter to 0 and last intro to the value 1. And that's it. For Hello 2, it's the same thing, making sure that the last intro was not 2, and that, and now we're setting it to the value 2, linking to playlist 1. For our playlist, we have all of our songs here. Tracks 1, 2, 3, all the way through 6. All of them are going to be run immediately random. And our conditions are going to be get quest variable, radio tutorial, and our counter. We're going to access the counter and compare it to less than how many songs we want to play. I have it set up to play 4 songs. Okay. Then the rest of the conditions are the same as before, just making sure that the last 3 songs were not this one. We link it to playlist 1 from any, and our script now starts with set radio tutorial.encounter to encounter plus 1. The rest of it is the same. This applies to all of the tracks that we have our counter less than 4 and counter increased by 1 each track. All of them link to playlist 1. All of them link from any. So let's go ahead and see this in game. When we open up our Pip-Boy, you can see our tutorial, and let's listen.
This is track 2, track 6, track 5, track 3, second radio hello, track 4. This is track 1, track 6, track 5, first radio hello, track 4. This is track 2. This is track 1, track 5, second radio hello.
So we see that it will shuffle and that it will play the different intros for the songs. Alright, there's just going to be some closing thoughts and things you should keep in mind. For one, when you have your quest and your scripts, make sure not to press these. These are going to recompile your whole game, and you don't want to do that. That will mess up your save. So just make sure you're only hitting save here. The other thing is this SCN is our script name. You have to put it at the top to name your script, to add it. All of these are just integers to keep track of certain numbers. And make sure you're in the quest kind. Allow repeated conversation topics needs to be on if you want certain info in the topics to be able to repeat inside. Otherwise, it wants to go back to radio hello after every time one of these executes. So make sure you're doing that, and also do not put link from on any of the radio hellos. It doesn't need it. Another thing to keep in mind is when you're creating new radio stations, do you want them on the same ESP or to turn on with the same file? If so, when you add a new one, you need a new talking activator, a new place to put it, and you're going to need to add all new files, a new quest that's completely different from the other one. But you want to retain the same voice for what you're doing. It's going to be the same calls, so you can create it within the same ESP to have multiple radios there. Just make sure you're calling different terminals. You can use the same voice. It has to be a different quest, and they can't be calling variables from each other. You need to make sure everything is different. If you're going to create a new radio on a separate ESP, try and just copy this one, because you do not want anything conflicting when you put the two together. Make sure that if you're going to use the same voice, go ahead and just copy the first file so that you can retain the information from the first voice, and that your terminals won't overlap, that they'll be in different spots. Next, a lot of people have had issues with certain things not showing up when they try and add things, add conditions. Go to the top and drag it out. You're going to see everything here. For some conditions, people won't see them. Drag it out. If you're running a mod organizer, which I'm assuming because you're modding the game, it makes it easy to turn on and off different radio stations with the plugins. Otherwise, everything is on all the time if it's in your Fallout New Vegas folder. Alright, and that's going to do it for this tutorial. I hope it helped you guys out. If it did, leave a like, help each other in the comments. I'll be there if you all have any questions, and have fun with your modding.